Good day. Our topic for today is about the functions introduction, the use of and or not functions, if functions, nested if, logic 1, 2, 3, if budget, if and, sum if, count if, and sum products. This will be the basic introduction for the logical functions of conditions in Excel. Now let's try to define first what is a function. It is a predefined formulas that perform calculation. Basically, it has a simple structure, a function name, and arguments. And obviously, you need to have a certain types of formulas. Now, for the level limits, usually if it is if condition is around 7, so the function should be something like this. Excellent and function. For the end formula, or for the end function rather, all arguments are true for the have the result of true. If one of the argument is false, automatic the result will be false. That's simple how we logically explain the end conditions or the end functions. So return a true if all arguments are true. Return false if one of the most argument is false. So the syntax and logical 1 and logical 2. So as for the remarks, you can actually have those two type. So for the formula, is equals to and, banana, something like that. The description would be something like this. And then later, if you go through, look at the functions of and, or, and not. If 15 is greater than 9 based on the input and less than 8, the result will be false because the first condition is true and the second condition is false. So true and false is actually false. In the second condition, using an OR function, the first condition is true and the second condition is false. So we all know that the answer will be true because you only need one true to come out a true function or a true output for an end condition. While in the NAT, you can actually reverse the value and then make it false. So for the notes, all these functions are test one more conditions entered in a function's parameters. With AND, all condition must be true to return true value. With OR, one at least condition must be true to return a true value. With NOT, whether is returned true or false is reverse. So kindly remember, we only need both true in an AND condition to obtain true. We only need one true to have a true output in an OR function, and using a NOT will be simply reversing the rest of the condition. So the functions, the descriptions, and the formula in the description of the formula were actually given here, including the XOR. But we're not going to focus more on the XOR. Okay? So our simply functions now will be the AND, OR, and the NOT. Now simply focus on those logical functions because we will be using that in a multiple level if conditions in the later part. Now, the if functions bears two conditions. The first condition will be the true logic, and the second condition will be the value if false. So the syntax is, the first one is the logical test value or the logical test. The second part of the if condition will be the true value. And the third part will be the false value. So we now logically speaking of the if functions, there is a logical test to determine if the test will provide a true value or a false value. So logical test is a value of expression that can be evaluated to true or false. For example, if 810 is equals to 100, is a logical expression. If the value on 810 is equal to 100, then expression evaluates true. Otherwise, it will be false. For the second part, the very first one will be the value if true. If the logical test is true, and then the value if true, then the output for the value will be true. Otherwise, it will be false. Okay? So the logical operation has a comparison operations. We have the equal, we have the greater than, less than equal or greater than, equal to. We have a less than equal, and not equal to. So when you are constructing a test using with if, you can use any of the logical operators. You can combine them, and you can actually use them. So here's the thing. A and B is actually false. A or B is actually false. Not A, that would be true. Based on the table, if the input is false, using an AND functions, that would be false. Using an OR function, that would be true. And reversing it into a not A, that means it will be false. Okay, so let's go to the nested if. Okay. Nested if is something like a multiple level of numbers referring to the level of possible output. If the grade is A, B, C, D, E, F, or it's A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, F, there are 5. So there will be 4 if conditional levels determining the input based on the cell value. So it's a multiple level of condition. This is the logical test. This is the logical A would be the logical test true value. The second if will be the logical false value, will also become the logical test, which refer to the second, and so on and so forth. Now for the example, the given condition for the 10 gallons, 483 gallons, 500 gallons. If we simply look at the problem, we can simply see that buying a wholesale is different to a retail. You buy at the wholesale, it will be a little bit cheaper. When you buy it a retail, obviously it will be a little bit expensive compared to that one. Now let's go to the other particular part. You see, the formulas to calculate the cost is simply something like this. So once the amount is given, all you have to do is to particularly input a multiple level of if condition for us to determine which one will going to be the answer for that particular problem. So for the logic number 3, given the values, what will be the price range to the formulas using the mean, the max, and the if and the sum product. Okay. Now, the sum product is similar to an if condition. In an if condition, you'll have the same condition. The first one will be the logical test, and then the true value, and then the logical test, the logical true value, the logical false value. So given those formula, you can actually have something like this one. Sum if for the functions in if, for a specific address, it is an absolute address provided by 12 to the F14, hence up to H12 to H14. Okay, sounds similar to the product using an if functions. Now, if a nested if is combined with an if condition, for example, and the first one is 1 less than B5, the true value would be 1 less than B5, and the second false value would be, the false value would be B5 is less than 100. So the value between 50 and between 1 to 100, the result would be true. But if you put an if condition using a logical AND function, the value would be simply out of range. The result would determine combining two functions using if and end will give you a better range of compounding a problem, which refers to the formula. In each formula above, end function is nested inside the function, and the end function serves as the first if parameter if the functions, and if the end functions evaluate the true, then the second if function's parameter is returned. And if the functions evaluate false, then the third if functions will be evaluated. Now let's go for the parse of the sum if functions. We combine the if and the end functions with a multiple level of evaluation. We can actually use the word sum if. It is simply said that a range of criteria and then some range will be the condition for that particular part. The first part will be the range, is the range of the cells you want to evaluate. And then the criteria will be the condition or the possible logical test that you want to determine if something you want to find out. And then the part 3 will be the sum of range of actual cells to the sum. The cell is the sum range toward the sum, and it is actually limited. The last one will be the count if, meaning similarly for the count if, it's similar to a function of sum if. A number of cells within the range that meet a given criteria. Now, looking at all those conditions, we have to understand what is range from a particular cell up to the next cell or to the certain cell. Now, after determining the range, we could now put the criteria. Criteria means what are the things that I want to find out? Is it greater than 32 or less than 31? Or is it greater than for the rest? Okay, I hope you learned something for our topic for today. It's quite actually exciting and very promising. You need to more practice and try to change the data to determine what are the effects and using these logical functions. Good day, everyone. Hope to see you again for the next presentation. Thank you very much.